Their characters go to a war god's palace at the peak of a mountain, and somehow this dude's ranger manages to piss the war god off. The god proceeds to grab him by the throat and hold him over the edge of the mountain with a straight drop down to the earth below. The guy's response? Do it, you no balls. Hey, what's everybody, cleanup day here. And while I use prestidigitation on my room, here's another DnDGreentext video. Yeah, how are you guys doing? Hoping a wonderful day today. Before jumping into the video, I want to quickly kindly ask you if you want to take a second to smash the like button. Helps out a lot and I appreciate it a lot, so thanks so much for those. And yeah, with that being said, I hope you enjoyed the video. Anon is a mischievous fellow. My magical realm is every character in my setting was canonically created via I even include some NPCs who are parents, explicitly confirming that they have had sex. My players are none the wiser. After games, they even call my campaign good and fun. Roll for menstruation. Do you roleplay female adventurers menstruating? It's a simple yet massively consequential fact of life for women. Yes. Also, I make my players roll every 2 weeks to see if they get a cold. Plus the cholera checks, of course, depending on what kind of water they're drinking. I also apply a small amount of damage every day when players pick up a new weapon until they develop calluses and muscle tone for it. Fetish thread, it's like 50, okay. Well, this is just being a very interesting start in a very bad way for this video. Alright. Anon's party encounters a roving mauler. Be high level party. Travel to the far southwestern jungle continent because there's fat stacks of loot to be found in the ancient temple ruins. The lowland jungle is an awful storm full of mosquitoes and animated plants, so we decide to head for the mountain area instead, which has less forests. Locals warn us to not go there, implying first day into the mountain area, much less insects and carnivorous megaflora, but otherwise the usual fare. Worst thing that we've ran into was a solitary wyvern which died before it finished diving at us. Also find out there's some other kind of tribals here, either goblins or kobolds. Day 2. We're getting closer to that sweet ancient abandoned temple, and we can already see the outline. Suddenly, some goblin in a neat looking tribal mask appears out of nowhere and blocks our path and spouts something in his language. Dumb party members get into an argument whether or not it's worth casting comprehend languages here and now. Before they reach a decision, the goblin releases an extremely and magically loud lion roar. Party sharpshooter decides not to give him any more chances and deletes the goblin from existence with a shot between the eyes. Just as we say good riddance, the whole mountain starts to shake, and it appears that the roar has triggered an avalanche. As we retreat to seek some shelter, we notice the avalanche is much faster and it's catching up to us. We also hear the hundreds of rocks that are also roaring like lions, not unlike the goblin. Those are not rocks. The worst one-liner of all time, running through Dragon Queen with really good friends of 6+ years, and the DM switch just for and giggles. Be me. Wild Magic Sorcerer, Be Party, Hunter Ranger, Regular Sorcerer, and the almighty Bread Paladin. Have a DMPC cause he still kinda wants to play. Monk Lionfolk cause he's kinda furry but on the down low. Just coming back from getting our asses handed to us at the cultist camp cause our deep sorcerer dropped his disguise in the middle of everyone. We got nothing except the monk that we were also supposed to save. Set up camp for the night. Lo and behold, we are robbed, with the tracks leading to a nearby ruined village. Now, a key detail about our Bread Paladin. His gear. A combo of a legendary sword and shield named the Golden Bread Knife and the Golden Loaf. The little took his gear. Did what now, that MP4? Enraged, he charges with the tracks. Welp, guess we follow. The tavern has been turned into a goblin stronghold, made of mostly old wood, control flames and pyrotechnic style. Knock knock, open up the door, it's real. And the paladin is here to bring the non-stop pop of stainless steel. Goblins in panic, running around and grabbing. Our loot is on the table. The ranger's bow, some health potions, a ton of GP, and most importantly, the paladin bread gear. Rushes over and yoiks them both. Now armed with a +12 and 2d8 +8 sword and an AC of 23, he's ready to on some goblins. Goblins start to rally as the flames die down. Hobgoblin emerges, red and fully clad in armor. He ain't ready for the smoke. I roll the most luck flame hands ever. One shot his ass right there and then, left with a number of goblins, like 10 to 15. With the leader dead, our paladin has to set the score with his underlings. Player rolls stupidly well. As he's cleaving through them, our DM tells him to say something cool. New DM, new rules.x. he ends up spurging out hard. In the heat of the moment, he gets out the phrase, "Let me show you what the baker does." Rolls a natural 20 on his next 2 rolls to hit and intimidation. This is the second time that someone misspells intimidation as intimation, and I can't help but laugh at that. We're in hysterics at this point, from the worst one-liner in recorded human history, and the DM had to take an inhaler hit. Finally, says that the remaining goblins, 4, are all cut in half as they were paralyzed with fear. Lifetime memory, and now all in-game talking on a roll is optional. Thank bread. My party and the terrible, horrible, no good, very bad day. Bimi, formerly human, dragonborn wild magic sorcerer. Binatmi, pangolin necromancy wizard with severe thanatophobia, human sun soul monk, and skeletal spores druid. Party is seeking a freeform shapeshifter to be able to properly communicate the true name of a demon that we're going up against. Party splits up at dawn. Go take adopted dragon daughter to stay with her grandfather for a while to keep her safe. The rest of the party heads to the city to prepare for a journey into the desert. Reunite with the party and head to a desert where a series of hijinks ensue, including befriending a mirage spirit who might be able to help us. Suddenly get targeted by the sending spell. Wizard Guild allies are under attack by demons and need immediate aid. Demand the wizard teleports us there. Arrive and help fight off the incursion led by a powerful silence demon and a young red dragon. Absolutely demolish the dragon with druid while the monk chokes out the silence demon. Manage to fend off the invasion with most resources spent for the day. Decide to split up to best utilize time after interrogating the silence demon. Wizard and druid go through a portal that we had accidentally created in the guild to the plane of death and memory to try to get help from one of the planet rulers, an old ally of ours. Wizard not pleased with the situation that he finds himself in and is all around having a bad time. Wizard has a panic attack while talking with the planet ruler and banishes the druid to somewhere in the material plane. Planet ruler tries to break the wizard's concentration but is unable to before the druid dispels the banishment and reappears. Wizard and druid come back to the material plane after securing aid. Wizard curls up in a ball inside a tiny hut spell for the rest of the day. Cut back to the other group. Be going with the monk to a time god's clock shop to read his magical diary dimension, hoping for some helpful information. He lets us in and we walk back to the portal to the diary. Remember that last time that we had read from the diary, it had hurt our minds, so we cast Intellect Fortress before entering. Oh no, Wild Magic Surge. Well, it can't be that bad. 2. On a 2, you roll on the table every turn for the next minute. Magic goes wild. Immediately fire a ball on self, injuring the monk and self and setting the nearby tapestry on fire. Panic and try to put out the fire. Suddenly can only shout. Time God comes back and asks us what on earth is going on. Suddenly everyone turns invisible. Monk decides to test out his new gem of seeing. Monk accidentally sees the true form of the time god and is filled with madness-induced fear. Monk flees into the diary. Wait for magic to stop surging with no further notable effects other than suddenly feeling a little bit taller. Now 8'4", but this is not the first time this has happened. Follow the monk into the diary. Diary consists of an illusory universe with the writing being lines between stars. Shortly find the monk floating inside. Determine that the monk is fine, so begin reading from the diary. Fortunately, had managed to keep concentration on the protection spell. Unfortunately, it didn't help. After a minute or two of reading, the brain is racked with pain. Binatmi, my new friend Irilef, that the monk and the time god cannot see. Monk asks if I'm fine. Continue reading with no response. Monk decides to attempt to blindfold me and is successful. Starts struggling against the monk, who's now out to get me for some reason. He must be being manipulated by his old demonic book or the time god. Throw every last spell slot and ability that I have at the monk before he eventually knocks me out with a chokehold. Wake up blindfolded in the back room of the clock shop. Try to flee but slam into the doorframe due to unfamiliarity with the new size. Eventually, let the monk quote-unquote convince me that we should just go rest in an inn for the night. Don't trust him one bit. Check in to the nearest inn with 3 rooms for myself, the monk, and Irilef. Sentient Drift Globe friend comes to check on us. Monk tells her to watch over me. Take a short rest which finishes while the monk has left to get food. Luckily, be in the possession of a Bloodwell vial to recover some sorcery points from the rest. Use the points to make a spell slot and twin invisibility on Self and Irileth. Quietly sneak out and flee while the monk is gone. There is now a level 15 sorcerer on the run while afflicted with madness. Oh no. Does wild magic ever go right? Does it ever not turn in your, detriment? Pissing match with an angry war god. Not me, but a few friends of mine were running a campaign. One of those friends is notorious for genuinely making the absolute dumbest decisions in any possible scenario. Like, he wasn't even trying to play dumb, he just was. Their characters go to a war god's palace at the peak of a mountain, and somehow this dude's ranger manages to piss the war god off. The god proceeds to grab him by the throat and hold him over the edge of the mountain with a straight drop down to the earth below. The guy's response? Do it, you no balls. He tried to argue that he should leave because he had a buff that made him take half damage in forests, which he landed in. Oh god. Okay, well, at least he didn't try to go back on it. I mean, he tried to argue that he should he should leave, he shouldn't die. But he didn't try to go back on it. I mean, props for that, I guess. Everything else is horrible, but I can say props for that. Casual human gets isekai'd. Be me, DM. Be not me, Skylar the human. Used to be in the last adventure. Reset character and got god rolls for all stats. Pog that chump. Casually becomes the center of attention at the start of the campaign because stupid isekai Joe. Elf Rogue comes up with a plan to get into Baldur's without telling Skylar. Manages to perfectly convince the guards even though he had no idea what was happening. Manages to trick the guards inside that he's a noble. Manages to trick the half-orc party member. Kick W. Whole party assembled and Skylar is the only guy. Goes on to chill with all the girls in the bathhouse. Screws the elf secretly in the bathhouse with godlike stealth rolls. I don't like where this is going, that mauve. Goes on to die in a dungeon not even 5 minutes later. Gets revived by the cleric and the adventure continues. Fast forward a day. Have to track down a guy in a tavern. Idea that MP4. Grabs Horn of Valhalla, brass that he found in the last dungeon by luck. Doesn't tell the party and just leaves the tavern. Summons max berserkers by pure luck. Orders them to rig the tavern and the evil guy that we were after. Party gets attacked by 17 berserkers that refuse to let the evil douchebag go and manages to escape. My face when it actually worked and he killed all the guards. My face when he killed the evil guy and his crew. My face when he set the tavern on fire. Still got credit and experience for it without getting the blame on him for killing someone important. My face when can't fight and have everyone fight for him. I hate my party sometimes. Or no, sometime. Only sometime. Alright, on that note, that's going to be it for today's video. So thanks for watching, I hope you enjoyed. Don't forget to leave a like if you did and subscribe if you haven't already. Also, thank you to everyone supporting the channel on Patreon, as well as on YouTube. I appreciate lots of thanks for those. Links below if you want to check out the subreddit, Discord, and anything else. And yeah, that's it. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time. Have a great day. Bye.